I'm Sam from Team J, here to present our paper game Screencast. My teammates were Carly Boston and Kevin Smith. So here's the agenda for the presentation. First, we'll look at the process flow chart, how the game worked. We'll then look at the team strategy, how we divided the roles, market changes that occurred during the game, and the T accounts. I provided both the written and Excel version, as well as round by round information. So the process flow chart. I put these three bullets up here. They're three things that need to be kind of taken into account before we look at the process flow. So one sheet of paper is cut up into 6 pieces to be sold. Later in the game, specialty paper is introduced. We got to decide how much regular paper one piece of specialty paper will be worth, and we decided that our specialty paper will be equivalent to 3 pieces of regular paper. And after round 3, we repeat the process flow and do not award $10 again after round 1. Okay, so this looks kind of confusing, but this illustrates how the entire game works from a basic point of view. It doesn't include the rule changes. I wanted to keep it simple and easy to understand. The rule changes can be thrown into here, but it would look much more complicated than it does right now. So round 1, you purchase and sell paper, and you receive $10 to start. 1 die is rolled, numbers 1 through 6, and the number correlates to the price you can sell 1 piece of paper, and you receive the payment in 2 rounds. Then, in the same round, 3 teams are randomly selected to sell specialty paper at a higher price, and you collect the money on the sale. Also, 1 die is rolled, 1 through 8, and that is the number that it correlates to the cost of 1 sheet of paper and how much it costs to buy that, and you can purchase up to 2 sheets. After round 1, this should say round 2, another same thing happens. 1 die is rolled, 1 through 6. The number is equivalent to the price that you can sell 1 piece of paper. You receive the payment in 2 rounds, and also 3 teams are randomly selected to sell specialty paper at a higher price and collect the money on the sale. And the 1 through 8 die is rolled again, and that is the cost to purchase 1 sheet of paper, and you can purchase up to 2 sheets. Then we go to round 3, and we purchase, sell, and receive money. So this is when we first start receiving money for the paper that we sold. We receive the money for the paper sold in round 1, and then in round 4 we will receive the money for the paper sold in round 2. So you receive the money. I apologize. And then it's the exact same thing as we did before. The die is rolled again, and that's price 1 through 6 that you can sell paper for. You receive the payment in 2 rounds. The 3 teams are randomly selected to sell specialty paper at a higher price and collect money on the sale of the paper. And the 1 through 8 die is rolled again, and that is the cost to purchase sheet of paper. You can purchase up to 2. So after that, you just repeat and go back to round 1, and that's just the process flow. That's how the game works. There are various rule changes, but this is the basic flow of the game. So next we'll look at the team strategy. We try to keep our inventory stocked and ideally bought low and sold high. We eventually decided that despite the price, we would be helping ourselves by purchasing paper every round, as it's relatively easy to make a profit. And we sold specialty paper every time because specialty paper you have the chance to make more money. So we buy every round. So we decided to sell when the price was above 3, and sell all the squares in inventory when the price is $6 or above. We didn't have a very set strategy. We had a general idea of what we wanted to do, but it kind of came down. We discussed each move on each turn, so we didn't have a set strategy, but this is about the strategy we followed. So the beginning of the game, well, I'll now talk about the division of the roles. At the beginning of the game, it differed from the end of the game because we eventually got rid of the physical squares and the inventory delay. Um, we also added the Excel spreadsheet, which required a lot more work. Um, I was the accountant. I filled out T accounts, kept track of rounds and what occurred each round. Kevin was the manufacturer, and he cut the paper into squares. He also helped with a lot of the decisions and when to buy and sell paper. And Carly was the runner. She filled out the appropriate slips and took the slips to the professor when necessary. Um, Towards the middle of the game, I was keeping up with the Excel sheet. I just kept doing the accounting. Kevin kept track of the rounds, and he also gave a lot of advice as far as when to sell and buy paper. And Carly took over the written T accounts. In a real business, jobs and responsibilities are assigned according to expertise. For example, having an accountant work on an assembly line would not be productive at all. So I did accounting because I have a background in doing some accounting. I've worked with QuickBooks before, so I did that. In a real business, Kevin would have mimicked like a manager as he made a lot of the decisions. Carly and I probably would fall into the accounting department. She did a lot of the kind of procedural accounting, and I did a lot of the actual accounting as far as the numbers went. So the division of the roles for the midterm, I kind of just I decided to do the opening, closing slides, the T account slide, the reflection slide, and now I'm doing the screencast. The process flow chart Kevin and I worked on together. Kevin also did the rules slide discussing changes and how they impacted our business. And Carly did the agenda slide, the discussion of the role slide, and the team strategy slide. This is how it was broken down, but we really worked on everything together, and we've been in contact via email. And we've been, discussing a lot of notes, what we wanted to say on the presentation. So we tried to evenly distribute the work, and we attempted to correlate each subject to who was most fitting. For example, since I was the accountant, I simply handled the T account and Excel slides, and I personally offered to throw together the screencast. So market changes. During the duration of the game, there were several market changes. So the market rules changed our business by eliminating the wait time for supplies. After a couple rounds, we got rid of our accounts payable portion and began to get paid immediately after the sale. So that made it a lot better, as we didn't have to worry about the accounts payable. That's a whole different account whole different T account that we had to manage, and after that was gone and we were being paid immediately, it was a bit easier as we didn't have to keep track of that. Another change is we changed to an 8-sided die from a 6-sided die, and this increased the potential profit of our product, but it also increased the potential cost of our materials. When specialty products were introduced, it potentially increased our worth of inventory if we selected to sell specialty products. So our team decided that the price of our specialty paper, or we decided the price of our specialty paper before we knew how it would affect our game plan. We chose one specialty square to be equivalent to 2 normal squares. In hindsight, the best would have been to do a 1-to-1 ratio, because we would have made more profit for specialty, but our inventory would have decreased at the rate that the normal paper was decreasing. So that was something we could have done differently, but it ended up working out. We made a lot of profit from selling specialty paper. So here we are looking at the T accounts. So over here on the left, we have the written T accounts. This is from the first day. Pretty basic: cash, inventory, accounts receivable, and accounts payable. I have the debit and the credit side. So I just wanted to keep track of all the transactions, and then I have my daily totals at the end. Over here is an example of the round information that I also kept track of. This made it a lot easier to kind of go back and check to make sure that we did everything right. Excuse me. I included each step of the round, how much we sold, how much specialty we sold, and whether or not we were selected to sell it. and how much we got paid if we had anything in accounts receivable, and how much we purchased and at what price we purchased it. I also included, calculated the ending balances after each round, um, just to make sure that we were, on top of our accounting. I didn't want to mess anything up, so I calculated the balance after each round so that we could go back and check to make sure that everything was right at the end. So here's our Excel T account. I have the cash, inventory, accounts receivable, accounts payable, and the new item inventory on the far right. That was added later in the game once specialty paper was introduced. I formatted it to use currency for the currency sections, and I wasn't able to incorporate formulas too well. I really had trouble doing that, but I think it worked out pretty well. I used color coding, make it a little bit easier to read, and I had the end of day totals, but not the end of the round totals. Like I said, I had the round information, so I was keeping track of all that on paper, but I didn't have it in the T account. I think our T account went pretty well. I think it's pretty easy to understand and follow. And we were only, I believe, $4 off at the end, so my accounting was pretty close to exact. So I would say that it worked out well. If I could go back and do it differently, I would have definitely tried to incorporate the formulas, as that would have made it much easier. Everything would have calculated on its own, and it would have been a lot easier to go back and see our totals. I wouldn't have to calculate it, but calculating it wasn't too much of an issue. So, in conclusion, the paper game simulates a real business-like scenario. It's buying, selling, processing inventory, and recording transactions. The team members must perform the required duties, or it just does not work out. Everybody's got to be on the same page, and the strategy must be accounted for. The business will have no direction. We didn't really consider strategy too much at the beginning, but by the end of the game, we really understood that if we had, talked about our strategy beforehand, or well, more diligently, we would have, we could have won the game. So if we were to go back and do it again, I'm sure that we would sit down and talk about our strategy a bit more and come up with some set numbers to buy and sell at, and I think that would help us out. So the paper game is a team effort, and all members must be working together to succeed. This has been our paper game screencast for Team J. Have a good one.